Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commanders Course studio. Welcome to the show. So on today's episode, we're going to be talking about those hidden gems, those underrated commanders that you shouldn't overlook. And by underrated and hidden gem, I'm talking about bottom tier commanders, according to EDH Rec, when it comes to the ranks. When it comes to, well, how many decks Patron of the Moon has around it, it is at rank 1005. That's right, for this episode, every single one of these commanders I'm going to bring up is at rank 1000 or below. Some much below that. That being said, Patron of the Moon is an amazing one, a 5/4 spirit that costs 7 mana in blue. Moonfolk Offering. Now, you can pretty much ignore that. I mean, not that you should ignore that, but I feel like some players just kind of see that block of text, be like, I don't care about that aspect of this commander, so I'm not going to care about this commander at all. That being said, flying, pay 1, put up to 2 land cards from your hand into play tapped. That is an absurd ability. That is an absurd effect. Green decks are salivating at the mouth to have that kind of an ability. I mean, again, like, you know, hey, Lost But Seeking, sure, you get 2 additional lands each turn. Good for you. I can pay 1 mana to do that once, a 2nd mana to do that again, and again, and again. Basically just dumping an absurd amount of lands into play all at once. Yeah, you can do some really cool things with this one. You can do some bounce land shenanigans. You can do some landfall shenanigans. You can just ramp to a certain point where your opponent's heads are spinning because essentially just dumping more lands into play. And then sure, let's cast a giant spell to draw more cards to dump more lands into play. Yeah, this can get out of control very, very quickly. Of course, there's ways to make it so those lands come to play untapped as well. Yeah, this is a commander that, again, sure, Moonfolk Offering is nice, and you can build a Moonfolk deck around it as well, and be able to cast this at flash speed too, sure. But what really matters, again, is dumping lands into play. Next up, Terel, Reckoner of Souls, rank 1014, 1014. This commander is so spicy, so good. 4/7 Angel, Flying and Vigilance for 7 mana in Mardu. Choose a creature card at random from an opponent's graveyard, target opponent's graveyard. Put that card on the battlefield under your control. Yeah, a tap reanimation effect is absolutely absurd. Here's the thing. Yes, it is random. That is okay. That's all right, all right? You know what? Variance is going to happen. We might hit some bad creatures, then hit some good creatures, hit some bad creatures, hit some good creatures. We also have ways to manipulate graveyards, to exile certain things out of graveyards so we don't hit bad creatures. We also got plenty of ways to mill opponents so we get a lot of creatures in their graveyard on top of, well, of course, like, you know, edict effects to make them sacrifice their best creatures and then just steal their best creatures. On top of, well, plenty of ways to untap this to get this more than one time in each turn. Absolutely crazy value can be had with this. You can just basically steal your opponent's entire graveyard and swing at them with it. What's not to love about that? So again, a commander that in my opinion is a hidden gem, is underrated, has so many things going for it. 1014 is far too low. And, okay, really quick, one quick stop here. I guess I should have said, Vell's Broker Blood, here we go, rank 1052. The rank is over the past 2 years. And no, I didn't just choose, like, you know, recent commanders, you know, that were just came out. You know, they're like, oh, yeah, they're not high up in the ranks because they haven't had time. No, these commanders have had time. Vell's has had plenty of years to get up there, and it has not. And this is one of my favorite designs of a commander of all time. An 8/8 Flying Demon for 8 mana in black. Pay a black, pay 2 life. Target creature gets -1/-1 till upturn. Whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. Let me say that again. Whenever you lose life, draw that many cards. My goodness, yes. This is like greed to the max. Now, okay, I mean, that ability is nice. You know, being able to pay 2 life for a single mana. Yeah, and it's also drawing 2 cards. Give a creature -1/-1. That's basically greed right there. On top of, you know, -1/-1 for the creature. That being said, what really matters with this is, well, things that are some of my favorite cards of all time, like Mischievous Poltergeist, a card that allows you to just pay 1 life to regenerate it. Those kind of like life pay effects that you can repeat as many times as you want. That is just, hey, whenever you want, draw a card, draw a card, draw a card. Oh no, I'm losing life. Life is a resource in Commander. 40 life, that is a ton to work with. On top of all the ways that you have to in mono black, well, drain your opponents, gain life yourself, swap life totals, bring your life total back up to the original life total. You got lots of ways to essentially ensure that you're gonna be fine, especially when you're drawing essentially your entire deck. So yeah, this is a commander that life gain effects help and life loss effects are incredible with. Being able to set your life total, being able to utilize it in this way, I love this commander. Yeah, it's expensive to get out, but my goodness, you've got plenty of ways to ramp, plenty of ways to focus on that, plenty of ways to, well, take advantage of all the cards you're drawing as well. Rank 1052, far too low for this one. Moving on, rank 1157, we've got Sten Paranoid Partisan, a 2/2 human wizard for 2 mana in Azorius. Enters the battlefield, choose a card type other than creature or land. Land would be funny. I mean, that's just to make you not make a mistake. Regardless, spells you cast the chosen type cost 1 less to cast. You can pay 3 mana in total. Exile Sten. Bring it back at the next end step. This is a commander that you can build in so many different directions, and it is one that some might not believe is, very powerful, but my goodness, the amount of power that this has, especially in an artifact build. I'm not saying you need to build in that way, but hey, cost reduction for artifacts is absurd. Making your artifacts cost less, or even basically making them free for a 2 mana commander. Yeah, that is crazy, crazy, crazy good. You can also reset it if you need to. You can also protect this commander if you need to, or you can go Spellslinger if you want, the instant sorceries. You can go enchantments if you want to go in that direction. This commander can be whatever you want it to be, and again, its power level is absurd for artifacts. Definitely deserves to have a higher rank than this. Next up, though, Skeleton Ship 1172 rank. This is a commander that is so janky. Yes, I agree. It is janky. It looks terrible. I mean, look at I love this art. Okay, I'm not saying it's bad art, but it's just like, what is going on here? We've got a ship that is sailing toward the moon, and then there's a dolphin, and then skeletons riding flying turtles. Okay. Yeah, it's hard for your opponents to actually take you seriously when you're playing this, but that's exactly what you want. You want them to underrate this. It's a 0/3. Essentially has island home. If you don't have an island, you have to sacrifice it, but you get to tap and put a -1/-1 counter target creature. Now, that might not seem like a lot, but you know what? You can do so many cool things with that activated ability. First of all, there are certain things like, Dismiss in a Dream or Will Breaker, where you're like, oh, okay, if I target an opponent's creature, a certain thing happens. Either they sacrifice it or I get control of it. There's a lot of different things like that. Also, though, hey, Proliferate. Did you know that's a thing? We got more cards for it recently. Yeah, just, get counters on your opponent's creatures. Keep untapping this many times you need to. Proliferate. Take advantage of those counters. Again, there's different cards that care about the number of counters on something. There's cards that care about getting counters on things. There's a lot of exciting things that you can do with this one. And again, your opponents will not take you seriously, and that is amazing because you will absolutely decimate them with this rank 1172 commander. Again, when it comes to old school commanders, I mean, the border, everything says it all. Your opponents just look at that like, oh, it's old, it can't be good. Selenia Dark Angel, one of the first decks I ever did an episode for on this channel. I love this commander. 3/3 Angel. I can't remember if it's anything else because, it just says Summon Legend, but there you go. It's been errated. Anyways, for 5 mana and Orzhov flying. Counts as Angel. There you go. Angel. Pay 2 life, bounce it back to its owner's hand, and that's all it does. So, you might just think this is a weak card, but again, like I mentioned with Villas, there is a benefit, a giant benefit for being able to control your life total. Being able to say, okay, this is in play. I'm going to go down to whatever variable of 2 I want to, essentially. If I want to go down to 1, if I'm at an odd number, I can. And how to do that, you just be like, okay, I pay 2 life, bounce it back to my hand. In response, I pay 2 life, bounce it to my hand. In response, keep doing that, essentially. So basically, again, you can drop your life total down to essentially nothing. And from there, well, swap your life total with the opponent, like Access Immortality. Just be able to be like, hey, opponent, you're at 40. I'm at 1. I'd like your life total, please. Thank you. Or take advantage of those kinds of cards that say, you know what, go back to your starting life total. And then that counts as life gain, and then have life gain type effects that benefit from that. There's a lot of cool things that you can do when you've got a commander that allows you to control your life total. This is one that definitely does that, and it protects itself at the exact same time. A very cool commander. Make sure you check out my deck tech on this one, an oldie but a goodie. Selenia Dark Angel, you definitely deserve to be above 1188. Moving on to 1241. Rank 1241, Jiren Corrupted Bishop. A 2/3 human cleric for 3 mana in black. Enters the battlefield. Another non-token human you control dies. You lose 1 life and make a 1/1 white human creature token. Pay 2, target human you control gains life until end turn. You can, maybe ignore all that. You don't have to play around that part. You really don't. At the beginning of your end step, if you have exactly 13 life, you may pay 6 mana in total. If you do, transform Jiren. That is what we care about. We care about, again, life effects that allow us to say, you know what, I'd like to get to exactly 13 life. So we've got some life gaining effects in this deck. We've got some life loss effects in this deck that are repeatable, like Mischievous Poltergeist. Get down to that exact amount, flip this, and oh my gosh, the back of this card is absurd. 6/6, flying, trample, lifelink, so gain some of that life back. That's lovely. Sacrifice another creature, draw a card. That is an absurd effect. That is, just an effect that you don't ever see on free sacrifice outlets. You essentially see like, okay, yeah, sacrifice, scry 1. How much better is drawing a card to scrying? So much better. Like 3 times or so better of value, I guess. I don't know what the exact amount is, but still, being able to just freely sacrifice again any creature you want without paying any mana for it, without it having to be a non-token creature and just drawing cards, yeah, you can get so much value out of that. An aristocrat style strategy around this one, being able to go wide, sacrifice, get a lot of value out of it, get so much value out of it, hit hard with this one. And again, it's one of those challenge commanders that's just so fun where you've got this entire thing that you're actually working to. You're trying to get there. It's not easy to get to 13 life and then hold it and then be able to flip it, but you can. You can do it. And when you do, the payoff is going to be massive, bigger than, rank 1241 in my opinion. Next up, 1249 is the rank for Namazal Primal Tide, and this has a special place in my heart. It was actually the very first commander I ever built on this channel, the very first deck tech I ever did. A 7/7 Elder Dinosaur for 7 mana in blue. It can't be countered. You have maximum hand size. Whenever an opponent casts a non-creature spell, draw a card. Discard 3 cards, bounce it, bring it back at the end of the turn, tapped under your control. Yeah, this is I said bounce, maybe blink. Anyways, this is a commander that is underrated as a commander. And the 99 players love this card. They're like, yeah, this is great card draw. Cool, good for me. As the commander players are like, what would I do with that in the command zone? It's 7 mana. That's a lot. Yeah, that's a lot, but you can also dedicate an absurd amount of resources. I'm talking like 20 plus mana rocks to ensure that you can get this out so quickly your opponent's heads will spin. My record's turn 3. Anyways, get this out. Again, it can't be countered, and once it's on the board, it is never leaving. Your opponents will never be able to deal with this, because when they try to, they're going to be casting a non-creature spell, being like, I will Swords to Plowshares that. And you're like, okay, cool. I'll draw a card. I'll discard 3 cards. It goes away. It's going to come back. Good luck getting rid of this. With all the card drawing out of my deck, every single card I'm going to be drawing from you all casting non-creature spells, which again, 3 opponents, casting quite a few of them throughout the game. I'm going to keep my hand chock full. I have no maximum hand size. I'm going to have 10 plus cards in my hand at all times, essentially. And I've got a 7 power commander that is a 3-shot KO on anyone. I've got plenty of ways to get through. I've got plenty of ways to control the board, control everything because I'm in blue. I also have ways to get this double strike, ways to make it so that it's going to become a 2-shot KO, maybe even a 1-shot KO. This is a Voltron commander that is a card draw engine that protects itself. There's so much going on with this. It's amazing. Rank 1249 definitely deserves to be higher than that. Next up, rank 1254, Tashana, Voice of Thunder. Yeah, I played against one of these. It was like, that can't be that. Oh my gosh. I'm pretty sure it was Baron's deck in my play group. This is a commander, Tashana, Voice of Thunder, that, again, is being slept on. Star Merfolk Shaman for 7 mana in Simic. Power toughness each equal to the number of cards in your hand. You have maximum hand size. Enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control. I'll say that again. Enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control. So, this is a commander that, number 1, actually, again, gives you no maximum hand size like Namazal. That's amazing. You're in, Simic. You love, ramping, which you can get this out, again, quite easily. You're in Simic. You can ramp quite quickly. But on top of that, when you do get out, oh, cool, let's draw an absurd amount of cards and keep all those cards. And by the way, the more cards I have, the harder this hits. The deck that I played against was actually like all those like Maru type cards where it's like, hey, everything is like the number of cards you have in your hand, creatures. So they all become more massive. And yeah, you can actually just swing and hit incredibly hard with this. Of course, blink effects are incredible with this as well. Literally just blink this commander and be like, oh, okay, cool. I'll draw 7 more cards. Awesome. Good for me. All right, try to stop me. You can't. So yeah, this is a commander that really can surprise you. Go wide, go tall, go big with the hand. 1254 deserves to be higher than that. Next up, though, let's drop down a bit to 1359. Balor the Defiled, a 2/2 zombie dwarf legend from back in the day when I first started playing Magic. 4 mana in black. All minions get ++1. Okay, well, that's cool. Yeah, you can ignore that, though. Pay black, remove it from the game, exile it. Each player returns all black and all red creature cards in their graveyard to play. Yeah, could this help your opponents out? Sure. Yeah, I mean, ever so slightly. But it's going to help you out more because you're building around it. You are going to mill yourself. You're going to get a ton of creatures in your graveyard. You're then going to get to the right point where you're like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I'll pay 3 black probably right before my turn. Get rid of this commander, and all of a sudden, all of my things out of my graveyard come back. I get whatever amazing ETBs out of there as well, like Gary, draining your opponents. You can just win right then and there. You literally could just like, okay, cool, I've got like all these creatures with all these pips in my graveyard. Get them all back out. Gary's in there. Oh, you're all drained, and you lose. You lose. Or, of course, you can just, decimate them with value, decimate them with a massive army. You can go in so many directions with this one. It's a very spicy giant commander that is just waiting to explode with potential, with power, with everything. Balor the Defiled, rank 1359. Next up, Kamalfist of Crosa. Again, yet another commander from my childhood. A 4/3 human druid for 6 mana in green, rank 1480. Pay a single green mana. Target land becomes a 1/1 creature until end of turn. It's still a land. Pay 5 mana total. Creatures you control get plus the rest of you and gain trample until end of turn. Basically, overrun, repeat type effect. And yeah, sure, turning your lands into creatures, it can be risky. Sure, it definitely can be. That can be scary. But you know what? You're going to be fine. Because also what you can do with this commander, and you need to think about this, and your opponents need to recognize this too, and many don't, and when they don't, they're going to be out of the game. Because essentially, what can happen is, well, you build up a board of creatures, you're getting ready to overrun, you're good to go, you're in green, you've ramped, right? You're ready to go. And the opponent's like, I don't like that board state. No, I need to stop them. Wrath of God. And then you're like, oh, okay, cool. All your lands are creatures. Yeah, I can do that. By the way, you just destroyed every single one of your lands. So, this is a commander that is board wipe. Well, it's not board wipe protected, but it's board wipe deterred, because if your opponents try to stop what you're doing, try to stop this giant board that you've created of creatures that you're going to overrun again and again and again and again, well, all of a sudden, they're out of the game because they have no more lands, and that is their own fault, not yours. Not yours at all, and that's just my opinion. I know other players might not agree with that, but anyways, rank 1480 deserves to be higher than that. Next up, rank 1529, Gerard, Weatherlight Hero. Gerard, you're my hero. A 3/3 human soldier with first strike for 4 mana in Boros. When it dies, exile it and return to the battlefield all artifacts and creature cards in your graveyard that were put there for the battlefield this turn. So essentially, this is a, well, commander that is just dying for the rest of us. It is actually going away to save everyone else in your crew. Yeah, you can do some crazy, amazing, awesome things with this. It's basically like a giant, like, hey, bring everything back effect. It's a board wipe protection card in a way, but also one that you can use and abuse so well with, well, like, a mass sacrifice strategy, like an egg strategy as well, if you really want to go in that direction. Though, yeah, ask your player first on that one. The amount of value this commander can generate with leaving the battlefield triggers, enter the battlefield triggers, can be absolutely absurd. Again, all artifacts and creatures, kind of like a second sunrise, but in the command zone. So you can get so much value out of this. It's absurd. Absolutely love it. Rank 1529. Moving on, rank 1564, we've got Torgar, Famine Incarnate, a 7/6 avatar for 8 mana, but you're never going to pay that. This cost cast this spell. You may sacrifice any number of creatures. It's going to cost 2 cast for each creature sacrificed this way. When it enters the battlefield, to one target player's life total becomes half their starter life total, rounded down. Yet you're setting someone to 20 out of the command zone. Again, you would say, okay, 8 mana, that's a lot, but no. You're going to get some creature tokens in play. You're going to get some things in play you can sacrifice. You're going to get some creature fodder, and you're going to be like, okay, I pay 2 mana. Cool. All right, 2 mana has been paid. You're down to 20. Yeah, you're looking half someone's life total down to 20 out of nowhere for, just 2 mana, essentially. Also, let's say you're really low late game and you're at like 5 life total. Okay, cool. Let's go back up to, 20 myself. You also can, because this is an ETB, it's not an ETB with a cast trigger on it. You can also feign death this type of commander, bring it back when it's going to die. Maybe if you have a sacrifice outlet in play, you can actually make it so this comes right back into play and then take someone else down to 20. You can also have life loss doubling effects as well, like Rune Reflection, to take someone out in one shot. You also can have, other life loss effects to really take advantage of this as well. Say commander that, again, is being slept on, rank 1564. Moving on, Dralnu Lichlord, rank 1628. My goodness, this one, there's a bit of a fear to it. There's a bit of a oh no to it, and that is why it is a commander that, doesn't see very much play. A 3/3 zombie wizard for 5 mana in Dimir. If damage would be dealt to it, sacrifice that many permanents instead. Oof. Yes, that is tough. That is, oh my goodness, why would I ever play this? Oh, that is scary. Well, it's okay. I'm just going to be here to tell you it's okay, because you might not even get to that part, because you've got this amazing ability. It says, tap target insert source card in your graveyard gains flashback until turn. The flashback cost equal to its mana cost. Giving any card in your graveyard flashback can be an amazing thing. Any of those instant sorceries, so much value to be had. Yeah, there's even certain ones that maybe give you extra turns. You could go extra turns with this one. I'm not saying you should go extra turns with this one, but if you do go extra turns with this one, you probably just win, because again, you cast those extra turns that don't actually exile when you cast them, and all of a sudden you're like, okay, cool. That one again. Next turn, that one again. Cool. Being able to actually just continue the game without your opponents playing. Okay, maybe that's a bit of a mean thing, but also outside of extra turns, there's other juicy things you can do this one. Of course, you've got ways to untap this, including certain cards that are actually instants and sorceries themselves, so you can actually just chain one spell to another, to another, to another, to another. Sure, there's some risk, again, if an opponent somehow deals damage to it, and Lightning Bolt really doesn't see too much play in Commander, I will tell you that. But yeah, sure, like a red damage-based board wipe, you're going to want some ways to maybe, bounce this back to your hand. Make sure that doesn't happen. But still, there's a little bit of risk reward to it. Come on, live a little. Rank 1628. Speaking of living a little, Garna the Bloodflame, rank 1707. I actually did a episode, I think it is called Broken, because this commander can definitely be broken, and a lot of players do not know that. This is a commander that, again, when some players just see, okay, there's an uncommon symbol on it, it can't be that good. Okay, except like Tatiova, but, it can't be that good. It's uncommon, right? No, wrong. 3/3 Human Warriors Flash for 5 mana in Rakdos. First up, let's just go to the end of this one. Other creature 12 haste. That's already very nice. Being able to give your creatures haste, that's absolutely huge in many scenarios. That being said, the important thing here is, when it enters the battlefield, return to your hand all creature cards in your graveyard that are put there from anywhere this turn. Anywhere. You could discard a creature out of your hand. You could mill a creature from your library. You can have a creature be sacrificed out of, the battlefield. There's a lot of different ways that creatures can enter your graveyard. You could tutor a creature to your graveyard. You do a lot of things to get creatures in your graveyard. That being said, some of the broken things very well might be, let's get things into play. Let's sacrifice them for value. Maybe certain ones like Blood Pet that can sacrifice for mana. Maybe have some ways to get Garna back again and again and again and again and again and again and again. And all of a sudden you've got a crazy, weird loop going on with this one. Yeah, aristocrat style value sacrifice, Garna the Bloodflame, recurring everything again and again and again, including itself. I don't think you knew that, actually. When this ETB happens, if you sacrifice it with that ETB on the stack, it brings itself back to your hand. Yeah, that's how this craziness happens. Rank 1707, definitely underrated. Moving on, a god with Erebos Blackhearted. We've got rank 1709. Do not disrespect this god. A 5/6 legendary enchantment creature god for 4 mana in black, indestructible. Devotion, black less than 5. It's not a creature. Who cares? Whenever another creature you control dies, you may pay 2 life. If you do, draw a card. Yeah, that's crazy good. Pay 1, a black, sacrifice a creature. Target creature gets -2/-1 till end of turn. Like I talked about earlier with Jiren, or, the backside demon side of Jiren. This is, hey, you know what? Let's just draw all the cards. Again, being able to have a free sacrifice outlet and play like Viserys here, that's amazing. Scry 1, great, okay? But being able to draw cards on sacrifice is so much better. Oh, in tandem with this one, right? Essentially, you're just getting a bunch of creature fodder in play. You sacrifice them. Oh no, 2 life for 1 card. Yeah, that's okay. Like 1 life, much better. Sure, no life, even better than that, obviously, but 2 life, we're in Commander. We can deal with that, especially when we have other things in play like, Blood Artist, whatever, drain your opponents, gain some of their life. Great. So yeah, of course you can mitigate that or even go up on, life gain essentially with this one. This is a card draw engine that, again, is incredibly difficult to deal with. It's indestructible, and most of the time, it's just going to be an enchantment because it's going to be in play. Sure, you might have other creatures in play. Maybe it is a creature that's activated, essentially, right? And your opponent's like, I sword some plowshares, your Erebos. And you're like, okay, I sacrifice these things with my Viserys here. Okay, my Erebos is no longer a creature. That spell whiffs. Good. So yeah, being able to essentially say, you know what, I've got this card draw engine just in play, hard to deal with, absolutely amazing. Rank 1709. Next up, we've got Seki Season's Guide. This is a spicy and weird commander. There's a reason why it's ranked 1779, but I'm here to tell you that should be higher than that. It's a 0/0 spirit for 8 mana in green. Comes up with 8 counters on it. If damage would be dealt to prevent that damage, remove that many counters from it, and put that many 1/1 spirit creature tokens into play. By sacrificing 8 spirits, you bring it back from your graveyard directly into play. There are only so many creatures out there that can bring themselves back from the graveyard into play. Most of them, like, Reassembling Skeleton, require you to pay mana to do so. This is like, no, you can freely do it, and I'm giving you the resources to freely do it with all those spirits. Now, how do you essentially make it so that you are, getting the damage on it? If you had access to, like, War Storm Surge, that would be quite easy. You just have it deal damage equal to itself, essentially, and just go back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. We don't have that in green. What we do have, though, are fight effects. Yep. Plenty of fight effects to be had. We essentially use it. I mean, Growth Helm is a fight effect too, but that. But like a fight spell. Fight something else. Cool. Fight something else. Cool. Oh no, my Seki died. Who cares? All of a sudden you bring it back again. And then you bring it back again and again and again. Maybe you have cards like Fecundity in your deck as well, where you're drawing a ton of cards from your spirits dying too, this dying. So death, fighting, Seki Season's Guide, a lot of fun to be had with this one. Next up, rank 1818. Apparently players out there don't like card draw as much as I thought, because God Turtle Bantu needs to be higher up as well. A 5/6 zombie god with menace for 5 mana in black. Enters the battlefield, sacrifice any number of other permanents and draw that many cards. When it dies or is put in exile from the battlefield, you may put it in its owner's library, 3rd from the top. Yeah, this is a card that you're like, okay, cool. Let's just build up a board of miscellaneous things. Again, any number of other permanents. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be a clue token, could be a creature token, could be whatever we want it to be. Get a ton of useless things into play, sacrifice those things, draw things, and get value off the draw, get value off the sacrifice from other things as well. And of course, just draw back into this one as well, like sacrifice it with the trigger on the stack essentially, bring it back in your library, and then draw it from its own trigger. Yeah, you can get a lot of value out of this one. This is basically just a mass draw spell out of your command zone or your hand essentially too. Again and again and again and again and again. Yeah, you can do a lot of work with this one. Rank 1818. Moving on, rank 1896, we've got Kazarov Sengir Pureblood. A 4/4 flying vampire for 7 mana. In Rakdos, whenever a creature an opponent controls is dealt damage, put a counter on it, pay 4 mana in total, 2 damage to our creature. You can ignore that. I mean, that is nice if you happen to need it, right? There are certain times you're like, I'd like to take out that tiny little creature over there. Or yeah, I just need a little extra counter on this. Sure, that's nice, but more importantly, this commander is a very, 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 very easy one-shot KO. I mean, many times you just need like one singular spell to be like, one-shot KO, you're all gone. Because all you need to do is get this in play, Cast a very simple spell, some of which are just 1 mana, and be like, okay, 1 damage to each opponent's creature. Oh, okay, how many creatures in play total? Oh, okay, 18. Oh, that's even more than I needed. Cool, my commander is a 22-22, swing, you're gone. Oh, by the way, I'm evasive. Yeah, this is a commander that is a very, very simple, very, very easy one-shot KO. Give it lifelink, gain a ton of life. Great, good for you. Maybe sacrifice it with one of those like mass draw effects based on power. You can do a lot of cool things with this one, and again, very, very easily with so many cards out there, turn this into a 2-shot or even 1-shot KO. And even if you're turning into a 2-shot KO, you're in red as well. You've got double strike type effects. Take your opponents out with 1 shot out of nowhere with this one. Moving on to rank 1940, Sakiko, Mother of Summer. A 3/3 Snake Shaman for 6 mana in green. Whenever a creature control deals common damage to a player, add that much green until end of turn. You don't lose this mana, steps in phase's end. This is a commander that's like, hey, you know what we should do? We should get things out. We should hit our opponents for a lot. Some big things, okay? And then with that, we're going to get a lot of mana and then get even bigger things out. And then hit our opponents with that too. And then we're going to get even bigger things out and do that again. Yeah, being able to just essentially give you mass mana based off of damage, you are incentivizing yourself to just stomp your opponents into the ground as much as you can. Once you get this train rolling, good luck to your opponent stopping it. And of course, there's certain ways out there, you know, to just like bank your mana or to store your mana up or to utilize it in other ways so you're not running out of that mana essentially. Being able to do that allows you to have a little more like longevity as well. Or you can just keep smashing. Just keep smashing. You can cast some massive things with this one as well. Rank 1940. Moving on, rank 1998. Yeah, we're getting up there. Mioin of Cryptic Dreams. Now, this one, there's a reason why it's so low, but players out there, you want a little challenge, don't you, okay? Use that challenge to your advantage. Use your opponents, like, not taking you seriously at all. Be like, why are they building around this one? Don't they know it's not good as a commander? Use that to your advantage. A 3/3 Spirit for 8 mana in blue. Enters the battlefield, indestructible counter on it if you cast it from your hand. So yes, you cannot cast this from your hand. I mean, unless you use, you know, that one land that brings it to your hand or whatever, but also, I mean, you can't just do it right away. You got to cast it for the command zone first. So there is a downside to it, but that's okay because the upside potential is absurd. Remove an indestructible counter from it, copy target opponent so you control 3 times. That is a crazy effect. That is a bonkers effect. That is an absurdly broken effect. That's why you need to work around this, and that's okay. You build up the resources. You build up the mana to cast this. You build up the resources to bounce this back to your hand, to replay it. All of a sudden, it has an indestructible counter on it, and what you're going to do is you're going to proliferate it, and all of a sudden, you've got more than 1 counter on it. And every single time you play a permanent, you can make 3 copies of it. And of course, there's some infinite ones you can do as well, like ETB proliferate. Okay, yeah, you win with that. You can definitely win in that way if you want to. That being said, even if you're not going about that, yeah, being able to just copy something 3 times, absolutely absurd. Once you get out once, it's going to be out for the rest of the game, essentially. Good luck to your opponent stopping you, and yeah, have fun with this one. Rank 1998, a great challenge to overcome. Moving on, Karuga the Macro Sage. Now, companions themselves, they tend to get a bad rap as commanders. Not a bad rap, but again, like, when there's extra text on a card, some players are like, well, this is not meant for it to be a commander. It's meant for something else. Good for you. No, it can also be a commander, okay? 2094 is where we're at right now. 5/4 Dinosaur Hippo for 5 mana in Simic. Ignore the companion thing because you know we're running this as the commander. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each other permanent you control with converting mana cost 3 or greater. Now, you don't have to limit your entire deck to 3 or greater. That being said, there's plenty of great, you know, cards at 3. I mean, just think about even just like a ramp effect, just one off the top of my head. Overgrowth, great. Okay, use that. All of a sudden, you're getting a lot of things into play that can be hard to deal with. Maybe you have some indestructible ones, some ones that have hexproof, whatever it's going to be. Get things into play. And then all of a sudden, you play this. You draw an absurd amount of cards. Again, out of the command zone, giant mass card draw, and then you blink it. And then you draw even more cards. Then you blink it. You draw even more cards. Again, you are in blue. You've got plenty of blink effects. Utilize this as a massive card draw engine for you. Get those things into play at 3 or greater. It's going to be a unique deck, a fun deck. Do not sleep on this one. Rank 2094. Next up, rank 2161, we've got Kuan Ogre Ascendant. Now, this is another one where players are like, it's a flip one. It looks weird. I don't know if I want to play that. You want to play this one. Cost black, black, black. At the end of the turn, if 3 or more creatures were put in graveyards from play this turn, you flip it. So it flips over into The essence at the beginning of each player's upkeep, that player sacrifices a creature. This is a brutally effective commander. This is so easy to flip, it's not even funny. I mean, you just need like one edict effect that's like, okay, my opponent sacrificed creatures, or, you know, I sacrifice, you know, my, merciless executioner with your creatures. Cool. Oh yeah, that's, well, easily 3 creatures. Okay, let's flip this. This is an enchantment that can just decimate your opponents again and again and again. Every single upkeep being forced sacrifice creature, that is huge. Now, obviously, that can hurt you as well, but you're going to build around that. Either you have creatures that you actually want to sacrifice, or you just don't even build creatures into your deck. You can essentially just be like, okay, I'm just building a control deck that doesn't care about having creatures in play. Again, this could be an enchantment when it's actually, you know, in that effect. So essentially, you're just controlling the board. You're taking out creatures left, right, and center. You are just demolishing your opponent. You can go Reanimator if you want. You're doing a lot of crazy things with this one. It's one that, again, is so easy to flip and so fun. Well, for you, rank 2161. Next up, rank 2297. We got KAG Maru, First to Suffer, a Star Demon Spirit for 5 mana in black. Power toughness equal number of cards in your hand. And by the way, by paying a single black mana, you sacrifice this. All creatures get -X, -X until end of turn, where X the number of cards in your hand. A massive, 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 amazing effect that says, hey, you know what? Let's draw a ton of cards. Let's take out every creature. And you know what? Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to feign death my commander, so that essentially when it dies, it's coming right back. And with that, yeah, we're going to bring it back. We're going to take it out. Every creature's going to get taken out. We're going to bring this back to our hand when we need to. We're going to replay it when we need to. Even if you have to keep just recasting it, that is completely fine. What you're going to be doing is you're going to have a creature that is a good amount of power on the board. It could be a lot of power. Again, you're in black. You have plenty of ways to draw an amazing amount of cards, have a giant hand, have this be a heavy hitter, and also decimate the board again and again and again and again. Your opponents won't be able to keep anything of value in play. You, of course, will have ways around that, though. But yeah, you're going to keep that in mind and do some amazing things with this one. Rank 2297. Next up, rank 2433. Now, this one incorporates some elements of previous commanders that I've talked about earlier. Kuro Pitlord. I love this guy. 9/9 for 9 mana in total. On top of that, kind of like the original Elder Dragons, beginning of your upkeep, you got to sacrifice unless you pay 4 black mana. My goodness. That being said, pay 1 life, target creature gets -1/-1 until end of turn. This is amazing. Again, this is life selection. This is being able to get to whatever life total you need to, again. Being able to essentially be like, yeah, let's place myself at exactly 1 life, and then let's swap life totals. Cool, good for me. All the while, taking out every single one of your opponent's creatures. They literally can't keep anything in play. Of course, you maybe have ways to, you know, gain life as well if you want, whenever your opponent's creatures are taken out. All those kinds of things. And of course, maybe you got some Feign Death type effects, so you can just keep this around without having to pay 4 mana every single turn. Or maybe you want it in your graveyard, so you can actually reanimate it. Maybe you got a reanimation style deck as well. So a lot of cool avenues for this one. 2433. And finally, though, we've got Mioin, A Blooming Dawn, rank 2621, a 4/6 spirit for 8 mana in white. Again, like the other Mioin, like all the Mioin, the reason they don't see a lot of play is because it's difficult to build around. You need to actually make this work by playing it and then bouncing with your hand, then recasting it. But when you do that, the payoff is absurd. Absolutely absurd. A 4/6 spirit, again for 8 mana, enters the battlefield, indestructible counter on if you cast it from your hand. Okay, we can get there. We can do it. I promise you can do it. You got plenty of ways to bounce in white as well. Move an indestructible counter from it. Create a 1/1 color spirit creature token for each permanent you control. Do you understand how absurd that is? Do you understand how many permanents you can have in play just in a regular game? I mean, all you need to do is like, okay, build up a lot of things to ramp, all right? A lot of mana rocks. Cool, get this out quickly. Have a spell to bounce it back to your hand, an effect to bounce it back to your hand, a creature to bounce it back to your hand. Whatever it's going to be, bring it back to your hand, replay it, and all of a sudden, well, just proliferate maybe once, and all of a sudden have an absurd amount of creatures in play. Again, whenever you need to do that. Then proliferate again and do that again. Essentially, you are exponentially growing your board every single time. Again, you get more indestructible counters on this and remove them. You are doubling up the number of things you have every single time. Good luck to your opponents doing anything to stop you once you get going there. You can have some ETB triggers like, you know, gain life when creatures come into play, the Soul Sister type effects. Good luck to them touching your life total. You can do other things like, you know, just to have some anthems in play, like a tiny little anthem in play. Just a Glorious Anthem is amazing for this commander, being like, okay, my 1/1s are 2/2s. By the way, I've got 1,000 of them. Goodbye, everyone. Yeah, you can win in so many ways with this one. Rank 2621. And with that, this episode is coming to a close. Comment below with your thoughts on it. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG Player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.